Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow, leading the next generation of football fans live on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel and on 1252 Sports. Guys, let's be honest, we have a lot to talk about, and we only have a short period of time to do it, right? The last 2 weeks, I've rode this show solo. Unfortunately, Harry wasn't feeling too great, and he had work last week, but in even better news, Harry's going to be with us today in just a little bit because I'm going to need someone with me to talk about all the stuff that has happened in the last week. We had, free agency. We had a lot of basketball. And I know this is a football show, but there is some basketball to talk about with this crazy March Madness tournament. Trades. A lot of trades. The NFL is going to look a lot different come September. And I want to talk about all of it with my friend Harry the Greek. Let's get him in here right now. Harry. How you doing, man? How are you?
Good morning, man. It is a beautiful day in Tampa Bay, buddy. Let me tell you something. It's absolutely gorgeous. Partly cloudy skies. It's about 73 degrees. Sun's out, guns out, Feels
Yeah.
good. How's the weather up there in Jersey, Jacob?
Ooh, it's actually nice. It is. Yesterday was sunny, 70 degrees. It was really, really nice out. Today, let's see. Why don't I tell you? 52, reach a high of 55. So it's not that bad. I can deal with that, right?
No, not bad.
Yeah. All right. So let's get
Not bad
right
at
into
all. So,
it,
hey,
Harry.
sorry about last week, buddy, but
All good, man. No worries. No worries. All right.
I work a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens. You got to make that money. All right. What do you want to talk about first? Let's talk about first of all. So just to get it out of the way, this March Madness tournament's been insane so far, right? I mean, we see just yesterday, we see UNC upset Baylor, and UNC looks like a team that could not only make it to the Final Four right now, but win the whole thing, right? This is insane. We get to see Arizona play today. Gonzaga almost gets upset, and the boys from Jersey, St. Peter's Prep, first take down Kentucky, and then take down Murray State. So, Harry, we always know it's madness, but this tournament seems extra crazy, doesn't it?
It does. And hang on, let me check the cuticles. They do look good. Guess who had someone on the money line yesterday?
Oh, who'd you take? Michigan?
Yours. Oh, hell no, buddy. I took NC State, baby. I'm
Oh,
telling
okay.
you. Let me tell you why, okay? And if anybody doesn't believe me, I'll be more than happy to show them the bet slip. It's that easy. Uh, it was a flyer. It was very risky. People don't really recall that Baylor, when they won the championship last year, they were an underdog. They weren't supposed to win it. And I'm not taking anything away from them. They're a great team. They really are a good team. But you know what? The better team doesn't always win because they weren't the better team yesterday. But I'll tell you what, in the second half, I'm doing this on my chair going, yep, that was a great pick. And then all of a sudden, I see in the Tuck 2 foul come in.
There you go.
You're out of here. And all of a sudden the game's tied, and I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. This
Yeah.
this I mean, I won't bet the rest of the year, man. That's just like bad luck. And then they went on a 13-6 run, and I look like a hero again. It was fantastic, brother.
I can't say that I had them winning yesterday. I had UNC. I
How
had
about
Baylor
how about
winning, and then I had them losing to Texas Tech in the next round. But Baylor was not a team. I always thought they were going to be the first seed that was eliminated from the tournament. We saw how they did in their tournament. And then in that game they lost just a few weeks back.
Mhm.
And that scared me. I mean, we've seen there's been some other ups. UConn goes down. Arkansas beat they took down New Mexico State yesterday. Tennessee went down. Oh my god, to Michigan. That big kid, what's his name? Hunter Dickinson, I
Yep.
think. He's a dog, man. He is really, really, really good. Man,
I
Michigan's
don't know
doing
the
a lot better than I thought they would.
I don't know the kid that plays for Iowa State, but he was doing the best Steph Curry impersonation I had ever seen 2 nights ago. I mean, they're D'ing him up, and he's like 10 feet back of the three-point line, and the
No
guy's
problem.
like, "Okay, he's waiting, step back, jump," and I'm like, "No." Every time he dropped it, I was like, "You gotta be kidding me. This kid's unbelievable." He
Yeah.
dropped 7 threes. Talking about St. Peter's, uh, I don't know if he was a colleague or a friend of Fred Hubner from Chicago, but he played for St. Peter's. But Not recent. I mean, I'm talking about back in the Stone Ages.
Not on this team. St. Peter's. I mean, I think St. Peter's beating Kentucky was probably the biggest, arguably the biggest upset in tournament history, right? Because you look at the amount that St. Peter's Prep spends on basketball versus the amount that Kentucky spends on basketball, and the real
Loyola Chicago, man, they put up some serious upsets a couple years
and
back.
them winning, them getting to, what was it? Did they make it to the Final Four? Or was it just the Elite Eight?
I don't recall. We'd have to rely on people that are out there. Don't forget to share the show, everybody. I
Yeah,
can't do it because for some reason I can't view it on my phone from 1252 Sports. So if anybody's on Facebook watching this, do me a favor, share the show to Harry Berg on Facebook so I can go ahead and sit here and just start sharing it to all our friends and stuff like that. If you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. It's Harry Berg at Facebook.
yeah, but man, I don't know. I saw the numbers. It was like Kentucky spends like 15 times more on basketball. I mean, St. Peter's Prep looks like they play in a middle school gym, you know, and now they're out here beating 2 seeds and winning and beating Murray State, whatever. But that's enough. But there's going to be a lot of more upsets. We'll talk about all that next week. When there are even more upsets. But let's talk about some football because man, this is definitely not a week where there's not a lot to talk about because in the last 7 days since we've last talked, audience, Tom Brady unretired. Tom Brady's retirement lasted longer. Tom Brady's retirement lasted longer than Kentucky in the March Madness tournament. But all right, well, Tom Brady's back. He's playing for the Bucks. Clearly, Tom Brady hates his family, is what we realized, right? He spent 40 days in retirement and was like, and he woke up and checked his phone, and the only thing he had to do that day was parent-teacher conferences. And he was like, I'm going to go back to Tampa and play some football. And he's doing it again. He's going to come back, and if he wins a Super Bowl, everyone's going to, Tom Brady. But he's back. However, the Bucks lost Alex Kappa, and they lost Ali Marpet, right? Those are the two that they lost, and so they lost their 2 starting guards. But they traded for Shaq Mason, who's a great young guard, just a great guard overall. And they need to address that in the draft. I'm sure Tom Brady wouldn't have come back unless, they said, hey, we're gonna obviously fix this offensive line, even the guys we lost in free agency. But Carlton Davis comes back. They signed Chris Godwin to that extension, and I guess the Bucks are looking to try again. It's not run it back. It's not go for 2. It's try again because they lost last year, painfully. But Brady's back, and he's in the NFC, and he has a better chance in the NFC because everybody is coming to the AFC. One of them being Devontae Adams. So the Packers, they trade Devontae Adams to the Raiders after franchise tagging him, and it was a very quiet process, right? Him looking to get traded. The Packers ended up getting a 2022 first rounder and a second rounder. I think that was the 22nd overall pick, if I'm not wrong. And the Packers obviously still have their picks, so now they have 2 first rounders, and they'll probably draft 2 quarterbacks. And the Raiders get Devontae Adams. And the Raiders immediately signed Devontae Adams to a 5-year, $141.25 million contract extension, which is around $28 million per year. Devontae Adams, the best receiver in the league. He is. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to elevate this offense and this Raiders offense, and paired with his college quarterback and Derek Carr, he's going to take that to the next level. However, once again, a move that the Raiders needed to make. Obviously, Devontae wanted to play for the Raiders. He really wanted to, because reports have come out that the Packers said they offered him the same amount of money or more money, and he wanted to play for the Raiders. The Green Bay Bridge was burned by that point. But the Raiders, man, they needed to make this move. Look how stacked the AFC West is. There's no way the Raiders would be able to compete this year with the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Chargers, if they didn't make a splash. So now they have Derek Carr, who they're going to sign to a contract extension. They believe is their guy. I believe it's their guy also. I think Carr's great. Now you have that wide receiver that you needed in Devontae Adams, and you have him locked up. You have Josh Jacobs. You have a solid run game. You need to improve this offensive line a little bit. You do, because the pass rush in the AFC West is going to be crazy. right? You just look at even just the Chargers with Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, all those guys. This is if the Raiders want to continue to be a playoff team like they were last year, they need to keep upgrading. You don't stop here if you're the Raiders. You have to keep going if you're Josh McDaniels. There's no way they can win this division if they don't, Harry.
Listen, I love Devontae Adams, but I don't love him like everybody else in the National Football League, and it's not because I'm a Bears fan. Okay, let's just face it. The Green Bay Packers have a propensity of spitting out wide receivers that were extraordinary in Green Bay because they were playing with Aaron Rodgers and or Brett Favre. You're going to see a little bit more of a human side of Devontae Adams. I'm not taking anything away from his credentials, his accomplishments. Congratulations that he signed a deal like that. But is that the reason what's going to put the the Las Vegas Raiders over the top? Probably not. They still need a lot of pieces on defense. But I can promise you one thing. Green Bay is going to be challenged to win the division this year. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay. You can't sign somebody to that kind of contract in today's NFL and not put a supporting cast around you. They're losing offensive linemen. They're losing wide receivers. Marquez Valdez Scantling, whatever the hell his name is, he's going to be going really soon. They're not going to keep him. So, oh Lord, look at that. You see, I talk bad about Green Bay. The Lord loves me. You see how the
Yeah.
sun just bestowed upon me.
That was
And
very.
I said,
biblical, Harry. That was
that
biblical.
that was like biblical. Okay, I'm like the chosen one. I'm one of your people, Jacob. You
Right.
understand?
But I have to tell
Now,
you,
now I'm feeling like my buddy Ray Kennedy, because every time he talks, the sun just shines right upon Ray Kennedy.
yeah,
I just want to give a shout out to my buddy Ray.
yeah. I think that with one of those 2 first rounders, they'll go with a wide receiver. I do. I can't
They're
see
gonna have to, but does that make them an automatic powerhouse again?
no. But I think
I
if you
mean,
go with
there's
a
a
first
huge
rounder,
learning curve there.
but if you want to go with an edge rusher, with the later pick in the
Right.
and then go with a receiver at 22, there's going to be a lot of guys there that are really, really good because that means they're now before a lot of teams that are going to be taking receivers, I believe. So you can maybe land a guy if you want to replicate Marquez Valdez Scantling and maybe take that to another level. I'm sure Chris Olave out of Ohio State will be there for the Packers at 22. Perhaps a Treylon Burks if he doesn't go earlier. I don't think Drake London will be there. I think he's a mid first round guy. I think I had the Eagles taking him at 16. But
Yeah, but there's the problem that I'm trying to explain to you. These are not proven players in the National Football League. Not to say that they're not going to be very good. You see, it got
no,
dark. Now Rick Hughes just came into my shot. I guess I don't know. What
I
joke?
yeah. I think if they want to replicate what was going on last year, Chris Olave, one of these receivers, you have to then double dip at wide receiver in the draft if you're the Packers. Use a second, third, fourth round pick on a receiver. This is a deep receiver class. Deep receiver class. You
Okay.
have you have to if you're the Packers, right? And
Yeah.
they lose a Darius Smith. I love there's guys like Cam Thomas. Boye Mafe is a dog if they want to get him in late in the first. Take a chance on him. I love that. But we got a lot to talk about. So we'll talk.
No, keep going, man. I love when you're talking National Football League like that because I think it's amazing because all these speculations are great, but I can assure you of one thing. It's not a lock that Green Bay wins this division. They got questions on the offensive line. They have questions at wide receiver. They have questions on the defense. They
I
have
don't know.
questions on the team. They have questions on that team because when you can't keep Devontae Adams, okay, and he refused literally the same contract that Green Bay was going to match. You see, Ray Kennedy's coming back. Look, I can tell he's in the vicinity. The sun just came up. When he refuses that type of contract, that's saying something about that quarterback. Jacob, all I'm going to say, well, there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think it's all peaches and cream in Green Bay. I think there's a lot of upset players.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there are. But all right, there's a lot. So not only did Devontae Adams switch teams to the AFC, another quarterback who was in the AFC before, not last year, but he's coming back to the AFC to play, Deshaun
I
Watson.
thought you were going to say the important one, like Money Mitch, but go ahead.
No. We'll get to him. Deshaun Watson ultimately chose to be traded to the Cleveland Browns, waived his no trade clause, and Cleveland trades for him after it was decided that he'll face no criminal charges for those 22 civil lawsuits and the sexual assault allegations. There's a lot of opinions on this. A lot of opinions. Should I think the Browns have traded for him? Should I think anyone should have traded for him? No. Why? Because it's not only a risk. It's you're showing your team, and you're saying something about yourself and the culture of your team, right? Especially the Browns, who brought in Kareem Hunt. Now they're bringing in Deshaun Watson. And the reality, the harsh reality of the situation is the NFL doesn't care and teams don't care as long as you can play football, which is the wrong message, but it's the message that they're sending. And that's the truth. Right. But in terms of straight talent, Deshaun Watson's going to bring some real talent to the Browns quarterback position. Obviously, this is going to lead to a Baker Mayfield trade down the line. But Deshaun Watson gets traded. The Texans got 3 first-rounders, 2 third-rounders, and 3 firsts, a 2023 third-rounder, and a 2024 fourth-rounder. So they get nice compensation. We knew it was going to take 3 first-round picks to get Deshaun Watson. What we heard was that, it was the Falcons. It was the Falcons' deal to lose. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And what made Deshaun Watson change his mind, Harry? What would make you change your mind? I'll tell you, $230 million guaranteed on a contract, 5 years, $230 million. All of it's guaranteed, along with a $45 million signing bonus to go on top of it. That'll make me change my mind, Harry. I don't know about you, but you put almost $300 million in front of me and say, "You want to come play for our football club?" I'm changing my mind, man, aren't you?
You can get a lot of massages.
You can get a lot of
massages. No, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
I'm going to give you 3 general managers of their teams, respectively. And we've talked about all 3 of them. Who do you think would be on the hot seat first, and who do you think loses their job? Green Bay's, Vegas Raiders, or Cleveland Browns for the signings that they made?
Cleveland.
I'm going to say they're the last one. I'm going to put it in order for you. Green Bay, Vegas, then Cleveland. I think Cleveland has the most talent of all 3 teams.
I think
to succeed.
The Raiders brought in a new general manager, didn't they?
Yeah, but when you hand out money like that for a wide receiver for one player,
I don't think
that's going to see maybe 100 catches in a year. That's not good, man.
The guaranteed part of Deshaun Watson's contract is what makes me say Cleveland. I don't think Green Bay. I really don't think Green Bay.
Green Bay. He's got $150 million in guaranteed money.
But I don't think that Gutekunst is on the table. I don't think he is right now. I think that if anyone's gone first, it's Aaron Rodgers before Goody's gone.
I love the meme that I seen on Facebook. I've been sharing it all over the place. You got a picture of Aaron Rodgers dropping back to pass, and it says, "Devontae, go long." And on the other caption, there's a picture of a plane, and he's on it, and it says, "Okay."
Yeah. That's great.
That was so good.
But Deshaun Watson pairs with Amari Cooper, who was traded to Cleveland last week. I don't know if
I didn't know that Amari went to Cleveland. That's fantastic.
Yeah, Amari Cooper got traded. It was like a 5th and 6th round swap. It was like It was weird. It was for nothing, but they cleared the books. And Cleveland turned like half of Amari Cooper's contract into a signing. But it's weird. The cap doesn't exist. I've talked about this 1,000 times. The cap is a fallacy. And if you want to do anything bad enough, you can do it. But Deshaun Watson pairs with Amari Cooper. There were reports if Deshaun Watson chose the Falcons that Jarvis Landry and Leonard Fournette were going to join him there. But I guess once again, $245 million will make you change your mind on that.
Did Jarvis Landry end up staying with Cleveland?
No, he is currently a
Okay.
free agent.
He is currently a free
Yeah,
agent
yeah,
because
the
there are
Falcons,
teams
Harry, the
there.
Falcons, they almost landed this deal. They were up like, oh God, what was it? They were up probably 28-3 on this deal. Let's put a score out there. And then for some reason, the Falcons just blew that lead. It's crazy. We've never seen it happen before, huh? Right? The Falcons blowing a lead.
No, never, ever,
Yeah,
ever.
yeah,
Hello,
it's
Tom
beyond
Brady.
me. Beyond me. But
Well, I
there's
can honestly tell you, this. This is why Tom Brady wins so many Super Bowls. Okay, it's because he's not a selfish player. Okay, when it comes to especially his own finances, well, his wife. We don't have to bring his wife into the equation or anything else, but let's face it, she has more money than he does. Okay, but he still makes a good chunk. What's he making? $25 million a year.
yeah.
Okay, he doesn't have to make $50 million a year. See that extra 25 million a year? That can enable them to go ahead and sign more prospects to come to the team. This is why players want to play with a Tom Brady, no matter where he went to. If he went to, Northwestern and they were a professional sport, people are going to want to go play with him because they know he's not selfish in those regards, especially when it comes to finances. I mean, the National Football League's about making money, and these owners have that to make money. But I'll tell you right now, man, $250 million for a quarterback, $200 million for a quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
$150 million for a wide receiver. That doesn't leave a lot of money to go ahead and spread around to the rest of the players. That
Mm-hmm.
just spells a lot of disasters for me. And I'm going to make another prediction. All three of those teams, with the exception of Cleveland, miss the playoffs next year. I think Cleveland, if he's able to play, this is the best built team for a team to make a deep run into the playoffs. I'm telling you right now, if Deshaun Watson can play this year and he's not going to get suspended, I have this team as one of the favorites in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl because of him and the rest of that team. They got receivers, they got a great running game, they have a defense that can play. You better hold on. You better buckle up because Cleveland's coming to get that.
Yeah, they are. They are. All right, we got some draft news before we talk about all this free agency stuff. David Ojabo, the Michigan edge rusher, probably the top outside linebacker in this draft. Not straight DN, he was more of an outside linebacker. He tore his Achilles at his pro day, which sucks. You hate to see that. And you watch the clip, it was weird. Not a lot of trainers immediately ran over and helped him. It was very, very strange. But he tore his Achilles, projected top 10, 15 pick in the draft. Now we'll see what happens. I think he might fall into the second, third round, perhaps, but it's only 6 months. And he said he should be ready for, he should only miss a few weeks of the season, but that's a torn Achilles, man. And that's a
If
tough injury to come back from.
if he ends up going in the third round, which I don't see that happening, the guy's
No, he
supposed to
won't
be
fall
a
that far. He
potentially.
won't fall that
He,
far.
he was supposed to be a top 10 pick. Let me tell you something. If he does fall out of the first round, gets by the second or goes into the third round, whoever gets them will probably get almost the best player in the draft because he's going to play with such a chip on his shoulder when he gets healthy. Oh Lord. Let me tell you a quick story. Alex Brown from the University of Florida, who respectfully started his career with the Chicago Bears, was projected to be a first round draft pick for the Bears way back when. And as the rounds were going by and they finally picked him up, they picked him up, if I'm not mistaken, it was like somewhere in the third round. And when they interviewed him, they said, he said, quote unquote, I will show everybody in the National Football League, whoever passed up on me in a couple of rounds, you made the biggest mistake of your life. And he is arguably one of the best defensive ends that the Bears have ever had. Not the best, but one of the best defensive ends. Sometimes it's what a player needs. They need to get snubbed a little bit. And when they get snubbed, you know what? They come out and play like that. And I could see the same thing for this young man. Godspeed to him. I hope he comes back, strong and healthy as ever because the kid's an absolute stud.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. The Titans traded a 2023 sixth rounder to bring in Robert Woods, who's an absolute stud. You give him nothing for that.
Wait a minute. They got Robert Woods?
Yeah, the Titans got Robert Woods.
Wow.
For a 2023 sixth rounder. It looks like I don't know what the Rams are
Where did
looking at.
Julio go? Well, the
Uh,
Rams ended up getting Allen Robinson.
right. So the Rams get A-Rob. And I don't know if they're going to bring back OBJ. They should, but I don't know if they will now.
I think
Um,
he's done, Jacob. I think he's done. He should be. He got another ACL. He's done. He's
I don't
done.
know.
You can't come back not once but twice. I mean, seriously, that's too much rehab. That takes too much out of you. And he's
Yeah.
going to be too apprehensive, especially, for the first time, the second time, even when you do it one time, Jacob, take it from someone that's torn one. It's always on your mind, especially when you're running, you're trying to cut, or even going up and down on a basketball court. You're always thinking about it. And you can't. You have to have a lot of instincts when you're playing football. I mean, that's just horrible. But man,
Yeah.
my heart goes out to him. But I think he's done.
Yeah. Yeah. But this means the Titans pair Robert Woods with AJ Brown, who that's going to be a pretty dangerous duo if Tannehill can keep slinging it like he has been the last 2 years. And yeah, good for Robert Woods for going to Tennessee. He goes into a division that's certainly winnable for the Titans, and goes to a team where he'll be a true priority since the Rams keep adding guys, and I don't know if Robert Woods will get that volume that he wants to, especially with A-Rob there. So
So,
good.
what do you think the Tennessee Titans have to do this year in the draft? What would be your most top? What would be your top picks? Would it be on the offensive side
They
of the
need
ball or
no, they need to
defensive?
go. They need to go with a linebacker. They really need a linebacker.
Uh,
If Devin Lloyd, I don't think he will, but if he falls that far, or Nakobe Dean, one of those. If you can land one of those two guys in the first round, you are perfect. You are doing really well for yourself, Titans. If you can get one of those guys, because they're both dogs. They are both fantastic players. All right. So free agency. A lot of teams sign players. Nobody went crazier than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nobody signed. Nobody used more money on more mediocre players than the Jacksonville Jaguars did this free agency. The number one most notable signing for the Jaguars in terms of dollar, Christian Kirk,
I don't
the
know
wide
where that money
receiver,
came from.
the wide receiver from the Arizona Cardinals last year. He's good. I'm not going to say he's not. I hate that his talent is getting overshadowed by this dumb contract they paid him, getting $21 million a year, because he's super talented. He's not worth $21 million a year. That's a ridiculous investment to be made on any receiver that wasn't top 10 last year. Wasn't top 15, not top 20. Maybe not even top 40, Harry.
Yeah, let me tell you something. You're going to see a big difference. Jacksonville's going to be a team to be reckoned with. I said when they drafted, what's his name, quarterback QB1 for Jacksonville,
Trevi.
Trevor Lawrence, that I didn't think that he would ever be an extraordinary quarterback because I didn't think they would really surround him with very much. I like the signing. I think they overpaid for him. I think they automatically got a lot better. I think he's going to find himself a new best friend. They also have another wide receiver in Jacksonville. My brain isn't working all that well, but let me tell you something. Jacksonville's going to be a tough team, and they're going to try to win now. They're going to try to become relevant where they weren't relevant last year. And I'll tell you another team, you better look north of them, and it's in a state called New York. Those New York Jets, boy. Let me tell you
I was
something.
going to
They
talk
have
about.
really they just started pounding some players. And you know what? And they're dipping into the Super Bowl champions down here in Tampa Bay. Okay. And they ended up getting a really good corner safety. I like what Jacksonville's doing, but going with what the Jets are doing. But I'll tell you what, Jacksonville, they made some really nice acquisitions, man. They really did.
Okay, so here's my thing. The Jaguars spent more money than anyone else in free agency.
Mhm.
You know who else? You know who this reminds me of last year?
Cool.
This reminds me of the New England Patriots, right? Trying to surround your young quarterback with talent, with receiver talent and tight end talent, and it doesn't really work that much. It
It did
doesn't.
for New England.
Not really.
Yeah, it did. Look at this.
Not really. They
Let's compare the
established.
two seasons because there was a point in time last year that everybody that listens to this show, including myself and you and everybody else, as much as you hate the Patriots, you thought there was a possibility that this team could possibly make a deep run into the playoffs, if not go to the Super Bowl. There were projections that it was going to be Tom Brady of the Buccaneers playing the New England Patriots because it was that good. Their defense was playing lights out. And if you
Right.
remember correctly, they put a lot of that money on the defense. So that's not a fair assessment, Jacob.
but the Patriots the Patriots spent on defense, but they also spent on the players that they surrounded Mac Jones with.
Right.
Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne,
Mhm.
Jonnu Smith. These names didn't touch the ball all year, Harry.
I understand that, but this young man still completed over 70% of his passes.
And half of
He
them were
played, and
back.
I am not a Mac Jones fan. You took him out of that system, and he would be
The
subpar,
only,
mediocre at
the
best.
only other the only player that I liked that they signed that actually had an impact was Hunter Henry. And that was because he was a proven guy, right? The Jaguars come out, they signed Christian Kirk, they signed Zay Jones, and they signed Evan Ingram to
Yeah.
massive contracts. And I like Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram deserves a second chance somewhere. I think that New York was not the system for him. I think he needs to learn to catch the football, but I think that the system in New York was not for him. I think he'll be fine in Jacksonville. Do I think this paying these guys a combined what 100, let's say $120 million? Do I think that's going to transform this offense? No shot. Because
No, but if it makes them a
they don't
10,
have
if they end up being, look, man, if they end up being a 10-win team, that's a win. It makes them over 500. That's going to be a win. This team was in the doghouse. May I dare say it was a shit show in Jacksonville with what happened, with especially with their head coach. They had arguably the best quarterback to come out of the draft in years. They said they had the best quarterback to come out of the draft in years, and they did nothing with them. Nothing. Zero zilch. They are forced to go ahead and try to surround him. So if they had to overpay for some players, they weren't going to take any chances. Do I think Jacksonville's going to do good this year? Yes. Do I think they overspent? Yes. Do I think it's going to be a waste of time? Ultimately, unfortunately, yes. But it's still going to be a success. They're not going anywhere, but they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. And you can't deny that.
Well, yeah, they're going to be better than they were last year, but that bar is low. But the only signing that I liked, that I really liked that they had, was Brandon Scherf. They brought in the guard from Washington. He signed with the
Yep.
Jaguars. They give him a lot of money. That'll definitely help protect Trevor. So that'll give him his chance to do whatever. And they tagged Cam Robinson, ultimately meaning that they're going to draft Aiden Hutchinson with the first overall pick.
That could very well be. Aiden Hutchinson would be a very good acquisition for them, especially, on that side of the ball. He's a really good player. But I will tell you this, teams that have a propensity of trying to draft superstars, not draft, but acquire superstars via free agency, generally don't do too much during the regular season. It's those teams that get those mediocre, mid-tier players that they can get for decent money but not overpay for them, that have a tendency of really improving their ball club. Because let's face it, Jacob, most teams, when they're looking for players that are superstars, are generally don't have the best, let's just say, team building capabilities. There's an aura about them that thinks that they're better than others. There's a reason why certain teams let those players leave when they have the money, but they refuse to pay them. The things that make you go, huh, I wonder why they really let them go. They had the money to spend to go ahead and get them. The Green Bay Packers could have kept Devontae Adams. They
Yeah.
made that offer, okay, but they didn't. That wasn't Green Bay's fault, okay? That was something that Devontae Adams didn't like in Green Bay. I'm talking about the players. Like, let's go back some years when the Tennessee Titans had this huge defensive Albert Hainsworth. I don't think you were around then. And then he went to Washington and he signed this massive contract. This guy was the most unbelievable defensive player. I mean, most disruptive player. He was Aaron Donald 2.0, okay, in my opinion. And when he went to Washington, it was nothing. That's what I'm talking about. There's a reason why these teams let these really, really big superstars leave. And I think that speaks volumes. That's why I don't like when teams overpay for players.
Yeah, I just think it becomes an issue. It's not more the mid-tier guy, it's more the fact that you're paying him $20 million. It's just that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to be committed to a guy who could, go here or go here, right? Like it's risky. It's risky, but the Jaguars are taking their chance because they need to, because if they don't, they're going to keep being that 2-3 win team that they always have been. But the Jets, I like what the Jets are doing. They're not overpaying guys at all. The Jets, they needed to address right guard, and they did. They get Laken Tomlinson from the 49ers, who is a stud. I think he was a Pro Bowl right guard Pro Bowl guard
Really
last
good.
year.
He's a really good right guard. Got him for the right price. He's not an absolute the best right guard in football. I can name about 6 or 7 others that are better than him. But he is exactly what this team needs. He is going to protect his front side, and he is an absolute. I mean, he's an absolute bulldozer in the run game.
Yeah, yeah. Tomlinson, I think he was a Pro Bowler last year.
I believe so.
I think he was. So the Jets they swing big, sign him for I think $13 million a year, which is absolutely perfect. I love that move. They get Jordan Whitehead, like you mentioned, from the Bucks. They needed to address safety. They
A
needed
hell of an acquisition, buddy.
and
Hell of an
he's
acquisition.
going to stop the run like no. I mean, everyone was running all over the Jets, and he's a pretty good pass protector. He's a pretty good pass.
He's, let me tell you something. Jordan Whitehead is going to do a lot better in this system that are with the Jets than he did here in Tampa. No disrespect for the Tampa fans. They didn't let him really get into the box that much because they played a lot of 2 deep safeties and they dared you to pass the ball. And that's where he kind of got exposed a little bit. But let me tell you something. The Jets have a tendency of taking their safeties and bringing them up as a 4th linebacker, okay, at times. And let me tell you something. He's a thumper. He can play. That kid can flat out ball. But when you do drop him in the coverage, he's going to be pretty good against some of the tight ends in the league. He's got real quick short spaces, lateral east to west, where he could pick up a slot receiver every once in a blue moon if it's being pawned off on him. But they just solidified the middle of that field. Center field is solidified for the next 5 to 7 years for the New York Jets. Really good pick.
I think they need to go safety in the draft in the 2nd round. I think there's a lot of good safeties that
Put
are
put another safety with him. I think that
Yeah.
would be great, especially with his veteran presence.
They need to be they need a pass. They need a ball hawk in that secondary. And I think a guy perhaps like Daxton Hill or Daxton Hill or Jaquan Brisker are
Jaquan Brisker, he's going to fall into the 2nd round. And let me tell you something. He's got really great ability when it comes to to sniffing footballs.
Yep.
He's got good pass coverage.
And you want to help your young quarterback. What do I say? I say it every year. Who do young quarterbacks love? They love their tight ends. They love their tight ends. We see it time and time again, and the Jets realize that. And for the first times, and I couldn't even tell you how long, Harry, the Jets have a tight end. They have 2 actually that I think could be really, really solid cornerstones of this offense for years to come. CJ Uzomah from the Cincinnati Bengals, who just had a career year, and Tyler Conklin from the Minnesota Vikings are now part of this New York Jets offense. 2 guys who fit this scheme perfectly, really, really well. Tyler Conklin's a great blocker. I love the money that they were spending on him. And of course, on the defensive side of the ball, they went with DJ Reed from the Seahawks. I think the Jets are preparing. The way I'm seeing their cap be pushed to they're pushing those cap hits and all those, pushing them to further years. I think the Jets are about to make a big trade, Harry. I think they are. I think they're gearing up to make a big trade, unless they're just trying to be safe.
You think they're going to try to move up in the draft or get rid of one of the first rounders and move back and grab more picks?
I think they're going to trade for a player.
Oh, give up picks.
I think they might.
If you had the dream scenario, who would it have been?
DK Metcalf.
Let me tell you something. DK Metcalf on that team, they'd still need another slot receiver.
Yeah, they will. But I think you can address that in the 2nd round.
Yeah, without question, you can.
And you can, especially in the slot, right? You can't really find, and they could always put Elijah Moore in the slot. He could be.
Elijah Moore is I love Elijah Moore, but a lot of people think that drafting a guy and putting him in the slot. There's very, very few wide receivers that come into the National Football League, and you put them in the slot and say, "Okay, make it work." Let me explain something to you. You have to run and be the most disciplined route runner in the slot because that's where you can give up the most picks.
Dude, Elijah Moore, I think when I saw him do it last year, when he was there last year, He was
Right.
stud. Even and not that I want Braxton Berrios as my wide receiver 3 heading into the year, or wide receiver 4 as my slot guy, but he produced when he was on the field. For sure. He produced when he was on the field. So if you need a guy, to teach him, I think Braxton's that guy. And but the reason they really got Braxton Berrios back was to serve as that all-pro punt returner and kick returner that he was last year. Mitch Trubisky, Harry, finally found a home, not with
Money. Money,
not
Mitch,
with
baby.
the Indianapolis Colts, not with the New York Giants.
Hey, but
It
but
was
who
almost the New
who
York Giants.
but who did the Greek say prior to the Giants, the Washington football team in Indianapolis? Go ahead. It's okay.
You said
It's
the Steelers.
okay.
The Steelers.
Yes,
But
sir.
but what it came down to via report was the Steelers and the Giants, and Trubisky wanted to go somewhere where he felt he would have the best chance at playing and winning. And that's the Steelers.
Well,
Definitely,
it's not
definitely
just
over the
that.
Giants. I
He took
promise it's not the Giants.
did you know he took less guaranteed money going to Pittsburgh than he did going to New York or any other team? He accepted
He
the
wanted to play.
deal to
Yeah.
where hold on. He has over $28 million in incentives that he can get. Okay, that he's betting on himself. Congratulations, Mitch.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations to him. I think he's going to be really, really good. Um, and we'll see what happens with Money Mitch from here. Oh, also Juju Smith-Schuster signed a 1-year deal with the Chiefs.
I know.
That's a prove it deal. It's 1 year, $10 million.
It's not just that. I just can't believe that all these wide receivers have signed, and the Chicago Bears have gotten out and they've gone out and they've picked up one wide receiver, a third or a fourth uh, string wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs. I keep forgetting his name, and they have let all these receivers go by the wayside. I do not like. Okay, hello Chicago. Listen to me really well. I do not like all the releases that this team has made. You have completely tore this team down, especially defensively. I
You
agree with
almost
the Khalil. I agree with the Khalil Mack trade. I tip my hat. They didn't get as much as what they wanted, but they did the most important thing, and they freed up all that money. Okay, that's why they only ended up with a second and a sixth.
you almost got Larry Ogunjobi.
I, I
Almost.
give me a break, man.
Almost.
You know,
Almost.
yeah, but he failed the physical, and now he's going to go to another team who's going to become a Pro Bowler. That's just another dumbass thing that the Chicago Bears organization does. I don't even want to get started on it. This team has totally given up this year. They're going to have roughly, if the season was to be over, they would open up with about $130 million in cap space. They're trying to free up as much as possible. Who are they going to get at wide receiver? A guy that's broken down and can't play a full season anymore in a Julio Jones? Give me a break. They need to surround this kid with Justin Fields. Get some offensive line help and get themselves another wide receiver, because if you're banking on having Darnell Mooney as your number one wide receiver, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
A lot of trouble, because I love Darnell, but he's not a WR1. I'm sorry. Should have
Yeah.
kept Allen Robinson. You want to know the truth? Should have kept Allen Robinson.
You want I mean, is that's definitely a position you that they're going to need to address in the draft.
Hmm.
I mean, in the
And who
second
are they
round,
going to go after? The kids from Ohio State?
I think
Really?
no, I mean, if Christian Watson is there, the kid out of North Dakota State, if he's there at your pick, I would take him. I wouldn't let him try and drop anymore. Drake Bell out of Purdue, another name that I really not Drake Bell.
They need veterans
Bell
on this
is
team. They've
uh
stripped the veterans off this team.
Dave
They need
David Bell.
veterans.
David Bell from Purdue.
Right.
Drake Bell was on the TV show Drake and Josh. That was what is it? David Bell from Purdue, also a stud. Him and Christian Watson are two names to keep an eye on if your team needs a wide receiver. I wouldn't, and you might call me crazy. I wouldn't mind the Bears adding another tight end in this draft either.
Who?
Not, I know they like Cole Kmet, but man, if a guy, I mean Isaiah Likely from Coastal, if he's there
That's
at your pick, man, that's a name to watch out for.
good hands.
Great hands. And Cole Kmet, he's good. I don't think he's a stud tight end one.
Well, he hasn't. He could be. Let me tell you something. In the right system, Cole Kmet could be one of the better tight ends in football. I see a lot of flashes with him. He's got good. He's got really good quickness. He has really good hands. He's a mediocre blocker, but they just don't put him in the right positions to succeed, just like they did with Allen Robinson. I'm not trying to make this a Chicago Bear show, but it's just the way it is. Look, man, we don't know what's going to happen this season with this team, but from what I'm seeing, they have broken this team down completely. In my opinion, they're going to try to go after mid-tier players for the offense, wait for players to get cut to surround Justin Fields this year. In the draft, I think their first 2 and 3 picks, they're not going offense at all. That's just my opinion. They're going defense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But Harry, I'm going to wrap this thing up. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you?
Absolutely. Thanks. First off, thanks for having me on. Sorry it's been such a long time since I've been back on the platform. I've been taking a little bit of a sabbatical, but you can see me this Friday night coming up again, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Chicago time on the Over Under with my host. I'm sorry, with my co-host, Mr. Peter Blake, and we're going to have a new segment. We're going to be doing Prison Break Takes. We'll talk to you then. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, Harry. Appreciate you joining me, man. I'll talk to you later. Peace. All right, guys. And with that, we're going to wrap today from the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. Special thanks to Harry the Greek for coming on. Be sure to go check out the Over-Under on Friday nights. Like he said, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Chicago time. Go follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charnow, Instagram at Hard Count Football, guys. Be sure to subscribe to the Hard Count Football YouTube channel. And of course, check out all the other shows from 1252 Sports. I'll see you all next Sunday morning.